All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. So in our today's video, I am going to be discussing something that I found so vital for my own inner process with understanding my inner system and how my system functions and what exactly is going on a deeper internal level. This has literally been something that has been so transformative in my healing process, to the point where I'm forever going to be grateful that I have this understanding on exactly what it is that I'm going to be sharing with you as the listener in this today's video. Okay? I'm going to be speaking about internal family systems therapy. I'm going to be giving you a very valuable book recommendation at the end of this video. And I'm going to be really breaking down and discussing some of the core concepts that come from internal family systems therapy. Now, I want to start this video with saying that I am not a licensed therapist. I am another person that is going through my own internal process, and I am just sharing some of the things that I have learned. But there absolutely are a lot of people that I work with, I should say, and that I do this type of work with and get a lot of results with. So it's a very effective form of working with the self, and I highly encourage you to embrace it. So without further ado, let's get into some of the core concepts of internal family systems. Now, this is also something I want to recommend. There's another video that's more recently uploaded to my YouTube channel from this one, and it is called Parts Work, (IFS Therapy). So I encourage you to also check out that video if that is something that you are wanting to go deeper with in regards to understanding internal family systems. So go ahead and check that video out and then come back to this one, or you can watch this video and then go check that video out. All right, so with that being said, some of the core concepts that we want to understand when it comes to internal family systems is the fact that there are different parts of us. Okay, parts of us is something that every single one of us has, and this is going to be related to fragmentation within the self. We are born into existence as a unified, singular being, and then through the process of experiencing trauma, we go through fragmentations of self, and this starts to create parts within our internal system. Now, a lot of the times, these internal parts that we are developing as fragments are going to be reflections of some of the abuse and some of the neglect that we actually went through within our family systems. And that's why this type of therapy is called internal family systems, which means our internal relationship between our parts and our central self sometimes reflects our actual family systems, our physical family systems that we grew up in, that could have been very unhealthy or could have been very disorganized, to say the least. Okay, so some of the core concepts to know about internal family systems is that there are different classifications of what's going on within our system. So we have what is called a central self, which is the core of who we actually are. You could call this the true self. You could call it your higher self connection. And this is who you are at your deepest core level. This is the you that is the soul and the spirit that inhabits your physical body. Now, when we look at other parts of us, remember, these are parts of you. They are not the central you. So you at the center of your being is the observer and the parent for all of your different parts. Okay, so when we start to step into some of the different classifications of parts, we have what is called protective parts. And I'm going to keep this very simple and practical so that you can really understand this as the person who's listening. There are deeper ways to go into this that get a little bit more nuanced, but I'm going to keep it very digestible and very understandable for you as a listener. So we have protective parts, we have vulnerable parts. And then what parts can oftentimes do is they can blend with our system. So I'm going to let you know what these things mean. Protective parts are parts of us that were designed to protect us in ways that we needed at the time of the trauma. So the ways that a lot of these protective parts operate is they protect us by getting us away from the emotional feelings and bodily sensations, as well as memories from our past traumas. And the protective parts are operating in such a way where they are protecting us by not feeling those things, by trying to escape or trying to avoid or trying to get away from or trying to be very shelled and very hard so that we don't get to those deeper, more so sensitive parts of ourselves. That's the nature of protective parts when they are operating in unhealthy ways. And in IFS, we call this burdens. So a burden in IFS is when a part of you is carrying some sort of trauma. And it's very natural for different parts of us to be carrying burdens, which then causes these parts to sort of manifest in ways that is not congruent with their true nature. And that is not actually how they want to be operating within our system. So it's our goal as the central self to be able to unburden these parts of us. So with that being understood, in regards to how these protective parts of us function and how they operate, now we can start to understand at the opposite end of our protector parts, we have what is called vulnerable parts. In internal family systems, they can also refer to this as exiles. And the reason why they can be called exiles is because that is most often exactly what it is that we are doing internally to these parts. We are exiling them. We're pushing away our vulnerability. We're suppressing it. We are repressing it. When in reality, these are very valuable and important parts of our being. Okay? So we want to connect with our vulnerable parts because these are the parts that are carrying the emotional pain, the sensations, the memories, and the visuals of the different types of traumas that we've been through in the past. But in order for us to connect with these vulnerable parts of us, we have to first have relationships with the protector parts. Because these parts of us, remember, are trying to keep us away from the vulnerable parts because they think that's what they need to do to keep us safe. When really, in order for us to actually heal the trauma at a deeper level, we need to connect with the vulnerable parts and process the emotions, the feelings, the sensations, and the memories that come from those vulnerable parts of us. So then the question becomes, how do we start to build a relationship with these protector parts of us so that we can start building a relationship with our vulnerable parts? All right. Now, when it comes to blending, what blending means is these different parts of us can sometimes be so energetically charged within our system that they can actually blend with our central self, which means they can basically override our nervous system. And when a part blends with you, it can actually feel like that part is you in that moment, meaning you can accidentally mistake your identity of your central self for the part that is blending with you. So for a protector part, these are parts that like to get away from the deeper emotions. When this part of us blends with our system, we can start to identify with being someone who's always really active, someone who's always on the go, someone who's always using drugs as a form of escaping emotions. I am a drug addict. This is just who I am. This is what I do. This is us starting to identify with a part of us that has blended with our system. When we start to identify with, let's say, a vulnerable part of us that blends with our system, this can sometimes feel like we are hopeless or we are helpless or there's nothing it is that we can do to survive and that life is just super depressing. And we can feel extreme states of anxiety that we don't know how to really understand, and we think it's just who we are. And then we start to create an identity out of it. But really, all that's happening is this part of you is just blending with your system, and it's overriding your system. So it's quite natural for different parts of us to blend when we don't have a healthy foundation within our nervous system, and these parts are having to be in a hyper reactive type of state. So the goal is we want to be grounded in our central self and recognize when different parts of us come through so that they don't necessarily have to blend with our system, but they can understand that they can trust us to lead our inner system or be the leader of our own inner family system. But when blending occurs, this is very common. I would go as far as saying most people on our planet today are blended with protective parts of themselves. Meaning most people are forming identity attachments to protective parts of themselves, and that's who they think they are. So blending is something that's very natural. And the first place that we have to approach working with our parts is with the realization that acceptance is key. There is no such thing as a bad part within your system. And even when parts of you blend with your nervous system, it's okay. And you want to approach it from that compassionate space. You want to approach it from that space where you can have love for that part of you. You can accept that part of you while it's blending in your system. And then you can feel some of the emotions that are coming, that are basically behind it. But it's also very important to have the proper education to understand what's actually happening so that you can recognize that a part is blending with you when it is. So that it doesn't have to be something completely unconscious that's happening, which then makes it more likely that you're going to attach to it as an identity. And then that's going to create more disharmony within your inner system. So that's the nature of blending. Okay, so we have the central self, we have protective parts, we have vulnerable parts, and we have blending that takes place. And then we have burdens that these parts of us carry. All right, so this is generally the nature of internal family systems. And the more you start to honor your inner process and you start to become aware of what's actually going on within your system, you might be surprised to see that these things are a lot more real than sometimes we would even think. And when you start to build relationships with your different parts, which there's no limit to the amount of parts that you can actually have in your system, although I would say it's most common that most people have 5 to 10 very prominent parts that they can viscerally connect with. There's no limit to how many parts that you can actually have. And we all have parts. So there's not one of you listening to this that does not have parts within your system, even if you think you don't. Because if you think you don't have parts in your system, it's probably a part of you trying to protect you from actually understanding that there are parts in your system and there are some deeper vulnerabilities that you need to connect with. Okay? So the purpose of this is so that we can develop a conscious awareness of these different parts inside of ourselves, and we can start accepting them where they are, realizing that there's no bad parts in our system. And then we can start the process of building relationships with them. So in regards to our protective parts are protecting us in ways that oftentimes are not healthy for us. And this is because they're still operating from a protective response that was from early childhood. So these parts are basically what I'm saying is these are inner child parts of us, younger parts that are trying to take on adult roles, but don't really have the understanding on how to do that in a proper way. So we have a protective part of us that likes to escape our emotions by using drugs likes to escape our emotions by having a super strong identity that I don't need to feel because I'm fearless. And it really drives those things. And the next thing you know, we develop a physical illness because we're a drug addict, or we go through certain types of burnout because we're identified with a part of us that doesn't listen to our intuition and doesn't listen to our body's sensations. So as we start to build relationships with these parts, that process is going to look different for every single person, but there are some general things that you can expect when building relationships with your parts. So the first place we start is we want to recognize what's happening and then have the compassion for those parts. That's the beginning stages of how we can build relationships with them. And then we can even start to communicate with some of these parts and ask them what they need from us in order for them to start trusting us. Because when a protective part of us starts to trust us, it stops having to react in its extreme protective way. And it gives us more room to then connect with our vulnerable parts and start getting to the emotional contents of the trauma that we have stored in our system that needs to be processed. So oftentimes what I find is when we start changing our lifestyle and our foundation of our everyday life and awareness, when we start changing those foundational principles in a healthy way, this oftentimes leads us to a place where our protective parts start to take a step back and they start to trust us more. As we honor that inner foundation and we're starting to connect with emotions more, connect with sensations and those types of things, now we're inherently starting to honor the vulnerable parts inside of our system. Over time, what this does is it reparents our protective parts to show them that feeling our emotions is actually a good thing, that feeling our emotions is healthy for the whole system. So then these protective parts of us that used to protect us in unhealthy ways now start to shift and change their roles into healthy roles that actually become some of our biggest gifts. And this was the true nature of our actual parts themselves before they were burdened with the trauma. So when a protective part that used to be a drug addict then turns into a part that wants you to be in great physical health, that's when we get to see the beauty of our parts. Okay, but there's beauty in our parts no matter where they are, regardless, because their intentions are always the best for us, because they're parts of us. But they just need a little bit of a reparenting from the central self so that they can understand that we're no longer a child anymore and that we might be an adult and that we're trying to heal. And they don't know what that looks like. So when we start connecting with our vulnerable parts and we start to unburden these parts of us, what we might find is that we're going to have to start feeling the emotions, sensations, memories, and visuals that these parts are experiencing. So they're going to bring these energies to us as the central self to start processing those energies. Now, this can feel quite intense, especially when you have really deep-rooted, vulnerable parts of you that are really hurt and are carrying a lot of pain. When they start to bring that pain to you, this is not a bad thing that's happening. This is actually a sign that this part of you is starting to trust you by giving its pain and its emotional repressed energies to you so that you can be there for that part and love it and nurture it and show it that you're there to be the inner parent that is willing to process these energies within your system. So this takes a practice of consistency and it takes patience. Just like you would need to be consistent with a physical child, or just like you would need to be consistent with, anything in life that you're taking seriously. And as you go through that process where you are starting to feel the emotions, the sensations, the memories, and the visuals of those vulnerabilities, those vulnerable parts of you, within time, those parts of you can start unfreezing from the frozen memories that they're trapped in. So what a lot of people don't know is that these vulnerable parts of us are literally frozen in the past during traumatic timeframes. And by being able to process the burdens that they give us, we get to slowly unfreeze them and then bring them into the present moment where we have a healthier foundation and where we're not reiterating neglect and abuse onto ourselves, but we're honoring ourselves and we're showing up for ourselves and we're making this a daily practice and it becomes something that we get to do consistently. So when that starts to take place, that's when these vulnerable parts of us that are super afraid and super shut down and frozen and terrified and sad, that's when they start to release all of that heaviness. And then they become some of your biggest gifts within your system in general. They become some of the parts of you that are super curious, super adventurous, super spontaneous, super intuitive, super instinctual, super fun, right? And we all have these parts in us, but we just need to unburden them. And we need to show them that we're willing to honor them on a consistent basis. So if you move through life with that type of commitment to start working with your inner family system, you can expect the healing that then takes place within your internal family system is then going to find ways to actually manifest itself into your physical life. So you're going to start noticing a healthier system in your everyday life experience with all of your different types of relationships. It's going to drastically change your energetic resonance to help you create the life that you truly want to live. All right, so this was the essence and basics of internal family systems therapy. And this is something that I have personally been super passionate about. It's something that I really enjoy speaking about. So I really wanted to come on the video today and talk about this subject and be able to break these things down, because this is something that I'm currently learning more and more about every single day as I'm doing this work within myself. And it doesn't cease to amaze me and surprise me of how nuanced this therapy is and how nuanced this knowledge even is in regards to, as I said, understanding yourself. So please take what it is that I'm saying and implement it in some way. You know, really hear what I'm saying and try your best to not take it for granted, because this is the type of stuff that really can absolutely change your life for the better for literally the rest of your life. So I encourage you deeply to listen to this video several times over if you need to also go to the other video on my YouTube channel called Parts Work, parentheses, IFS Therapy, to just keep going deeper with this subject. All right, so the book recommendation that I wanted to give you is called No Bad Parts from the author Richard Schwartz, which is also funny because I'm a Schwartz too. So it's so funny that I'm so passionate about IFS. And I don't think I will ever be a licensed IFS therapist. Who knows? Maybe at some point down the road, I'll become one. But it's something that as I keep saying, I deeply resonate with it. And I think it's healthy for pretty much everyone that's starting to get into this type of study. So that is the reason why I teach it. It's the reason why I support my clients that are, willing to trust me in that way to go through these processes. And for the people that I do work with, there is tons of valuable results that we have been getting with this type of therapy. All right. So with that being said, this is going to wrap up this video today. So check out that book recommendation that I just gave you. So if you got value from this, slam the thumbs up button. That lets me know that you really got value from this. Okay. Hit the notification bell and get notified for whenever I post, because I am posting on a daily basis now at a minimum. Some days I post more and I'm really enjoying this. Okay. It allows me to be a little bit more creative and just kind of be spontaneous with what it is that I'm uploading. Hit subscribe and make sure you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I am teaching here. So tap in. Okay. Copy and paste this link and send it to somebody that you know who needs to hear this now. There's someone that needs to hear this. Send it to them. It could literally change their life. It could change your life. Okay, and that's how energy works. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to the most important link. First link below, that's my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content only for the members. Over 315 videos that are very valuable when it comes to the self-development process, as well as spirituality and occultism. Everything is organized into different collection sections that is going to help you understand everything you need to know about your internal system, working with spirituality, understanding your spirituality. I have a whole collection titled Trauma, Healing, and Shadow Work, and that goes very deep into the foundation that I use to work with my clients to help them heal through trauma and regulate their nervous system. And then with the occult side of things, we have an entire magic training course, which is trauma informed as well. So the way that I approach occultism supports trauma healing. And if you're wanting to understand the basics of the occult, I would highly recommend that you take advantage of that magic training course. And there's about 1,500 plus members of the Patreon, which is continuously growing every single day. So I would encourage you to check that out. Tier 3 and 4 gives you access to a ritual service that I perform on the 29th of every single month. It's extremely unique. And what it is it is an energetic transfer from me to you as the receiving participant, and is designed to support you in working with the deeper layers of your unconscious mind. This is what it means to energetically move into what is called Universe B. Universe B is the shadow realm. This is the realm where you start dealing with deeper portions of your shadow and understanding your unconscious in a way that you probably never have before. And of course, that's not necessarily a comfortable process, but the more you learn how to move in Universe B, the more accustomed you become to it, the more you're going to be able to work with your deeper unconscious, the more you're going to be able to honor your authenticity, and the more you're going to be able to change the world around you, because your energetic resonance is drastically going to be shifting, because most people are in resistance to Universe B and they are fighting it. So this ritual service helps to initiate you into that dimension within self, and then psychically supports you through the healing process so that you can start honoring it in a healthier way. But this is not a ritual that does the work for you. It's something that initiates these things to move you in the right direction, but ultimately you have to make the commitment to yourself through that process. All right, so we have the ritual coming up this month. The deadline to sign up is the 28th. If you want to take advantage of it, now you know. Check it out. Okay, that is the third, fourth tier of the Patreon. First link below. We'll leave it there. Second link is where you can book one-on-one calls with me, and it's also where you can book mentorships. If you are someone who is interested to work with me one-on-one, and you want to go deep in regards to your trauma healing, and understanding how to create a healthy foundation for yourself to regulate your system. And then once we have that in place, if you want, we can start getting into the occult initiation side of things. And that is something that I also specialize in, and I do with all the different clients that I work with. So if that's something that you are interested in, I would be more than honored to connect with you in that deeper type of way. So all of that is in the second link below. Now, in the same second link below, you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She is a very gifted tarot card reader that can help you understand what's going on within yourself and what's going on in the world around you based on your inner process, and then what to expect as you start moving into your near future. So it can help prepare you to make some energetic shifts that might be very healthy for you as you're moving into your near future experience. Very interesting stuff. Everyone that has booked with Alexia so far that has given me feedback has said it was one of the best readings they've ever received. So I encourage you to check that out. Second link below as well. Third link is a Lucifer's Foundation course that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to build a relationship with the energy known as Lucifer. Check it out. Fourth link is my YouTube memberships. That's where you get to join the family here. So here at Universal Mastery, I'm the creator of it, Jeremiah Schwartz. I'm creating a family of people that are going through these deeper processes and working with their deeper unconscious and are healing trauma, and are also incorporating trauma healing modalities as well as occultism to support all of this. So it's a very unique collective, and I'm very honored to be able to be a leader of this collective. And I would encourage you, if you're someone who resonates with it and you want to join into the family, definitely look into the fourth link and become a YouTube member. Okay. Now you're also going to gain access to exclusive benefits as well. You're going to get early content releases, and you're going to get exclusive content as well, depending on what tier you are. We'll leave it there. Then the fifth link is my book recommendations for you. All right. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or nights, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.